1-in-3 childcare programs could shut down in the next few months as COVID-era federal funding dries up. And parents across this country are scrambling for solutions. Joining me now to discuss, Washington Post economic reporter Ava Badarai. This is such an important topic, okay? A ton of COVID relief money was designated to shore up the childcare industry. So now that that money is running out, is it that all sorts of businesses just can't afford to stand on their own?
That's exactly what's happening. We saw a record $24 billion in federal funds flow into the childcare industry during the pandemic, and that's been helping thousands and thousands of childcare centers stay afloat. Many of these are really small family businesses that are run by, a handful of women typically, and they're really bare bones operations. They have very small profit margins, and they're just not equipped to take any sort of blow. So having funding run out means that a lot of them are at risk of closing all of a sudden.
Like how many? Give us an idea, and how soon could this happen? I mean, the school year is starting up. People need to get back to, it's huge.
Absolutely. The Century Foundation estimates that as many as 70,000 childcare centers could close as a result of this, which is about 1 in 3 of the country's daycares and childcare centers, preschools. We're already starting to see some of that happen. The federal funding has been rolling off gradually. The last of it is running out at the end of this month, but we're already seeing many centers starting to struggle, maybe laying off employees or cutting back operations, and in some cases shutting down completely.
But doesn't the government, or don't we just have to look at the math here? Because we have seen childcare and daycare centers increase their costs at a faster rate than inflation, and all sorts of families are saying they can't afford it. But the child care centers have to increase their costs if they want to hire quality employees, which clearly they need for people who are going to take care of young children. So if the numbers don't work, if the business model doesn't work, does the federal government not have to take a close look at this?
That is the fundamental issue at stake here. The numbers just do not add up. Parents are paying exorbitant amounts, and childcare centers are barely hanging on. They're barely able to pay a minimum wage to their workers. And so the math just doesn't add up without some sort of government funding. A lot of states are starting to scramble to see if they can help prop up some of the childcare facilities in their states, but it's still a far ways away, and we have a huge gap in this country when it comes to funding childcare.
Could we actually see a whole bunch of parents in this country get forced out of the workforce again? Because if you don't have childcare, right, especially if your kids are under the age of 5, you really don't have a choice. You got to stay home.
Absolutely. The fear is that women in particular, who have really helped with the pandemic recovery, who have really helped prop up the labor market and the U.S. economy in the last few years, could be forced out again. We're already hearing from women, particularly in frontline positions like nursing, hospitality, teaching, who are saying, if I don't have childcare, I can't get to work. And I am in a position where I have no other option but to quit my job so I can watch my children.
And we already have teacher shortages. We have nursing shortages. When I read your piece, what stood out to me, you spoke to a mother who is a full-time surgical care nurse, right? This is not a low-paying job. And she said, I'm probably going to have to leave my job if I can't find childcare. How unique is her story, right? Because people often think, oh, it must be low-wage workers. It's waitresses. It's hospital. It's hotel workers. But it's not. These are college-educated people with white-collar jobs.
Absolutely. It's across the board. And it's not even a matter of how much you can pay anymore. In many parts of the country, there just aren't openings. There are wait lists that are years long. There aren't enough centers to meet demand already, and that's only going to get worse. So you could pay $3,000 a month and still not have childcare.
So is there a backup plan, either from the federal government or state and local governments, to address this? Because the COVID money was a one-time, one-off. It wasn't a long-term solution.
it wasn't a long-term solution, and we don't have another more permanent solution on the horizon either. Democrats are calling on $16 billion in emergency funding this year to help shore up the childcare industry, but it does
For who?
not look like
Ukraine?
that's likely to happen at all.
They too busy giving
We're
their
on the
money
brink
to
of a
giving our
government
money to
shutdown.
Ukraine.
Republicans are opposed to funding a lot of safety net programs, and it just does not look like this is something that can get passed this year.
Hell no, it's not going to get
This is
passed.
a crisis. Abba, really, really important reporting.
Hell no, it's not going to get passed because they too busy funding Ukraine in the war they can't win. And the American people suffering. I've been told y'all that shit. Look at John Fetterman in Detroit. So his excuse is he was in Detroit helping with the auto industry. God damn it. Well, your ass need to be in Pennsylvania coming up with some type of solution for child care payments. You know what I'm saying? Because here it is now, these ladies have to work. So with no child care, how the hell they going to support and work? You know what I'm saying? But that goes back to it's going to crush the African-American community because they told them that they ain't need no man in the house, that a woman is independent and she don't need no man. This, that, and the third. Now what's going to happen? What's going to happen with your job? See what I'm saying? John Fetterman, hold him accountable, y'all. But he's in Detroit. Y'all elected him as the senator in Pennsylvania, but he's in Detroit. Come on, y'all. Hold these people accountable, y'all.
I appreciate you joining us tonight. Thank you.
This is what I don't understand, ladies and gentlemen. Look at John Fetterman. I ain't heard from this motherfucker since he had that stroke and got elected, right? But here it is. Here he is down in Detroit. I guess Biden must have sent him down there because he said he was going to send a crew of people down in Detroit to help protest with the strike, as far as with the auto dealers. So look at John Fetterman, y'all, down in Detroit. When here in Pennsylvania, child care money is about to run out. And he ain't see, y'all vote for these people, put these people in place, and look where he at. So his excuse is going to be he was in Detroit at the strike, at the car auto strike. But motherfucker, the people in Pennsylvania elected you as the senator to bust moves. What about the child care that's looming for most of these parents in Pennsylvania? The money is running out, but here you are in Detroit. Let's listen to him, y'all.
Hurt. Picket lines outside of Detroit. He says he drove his Ford Bronco to Wayne, Michigan over the weekend to show his support. A UAW source says contract talks have resumed with General Motors. A Stellantis spokesperson says the company, which makes Chrysler vehicles, and the union have agreed to resume bargaining today. Senator Fetterman was vocal in his support for the unions and cited his Pennsylvania roots.
I always stand for the union way of life. I live across the street, from a steel mill and the steel workers, and I came from Pittsburgh because it's a union town as well. I will always stand for a union.
The senator's visit comes as the Biden administration prepares to send a team to Detroit to participate in UAW strike talks.